Is tomorrow. Hey guys, how's it going? It is Radlin Mendoza and John is over here, and we have our daughter Sammy. She's gonna play a little song for us to get us started on a Sunday night. Hold on one second though, because I'm trying to hook something up and we want to just make sure that we're all good to go here. Sammy, do you want to do a quick introduction? Yeah, and what you're playing and so on and so forth.
Sure. Okay. Hi, I'm Sammy. I'm going to play a song, and it's written by me. There's only one person here.
That's okay. One person is like...
Sure. And it was written by me, and I just put it on SoundCloud. It's not on, like, Spotify or Apple Music or anything like that, but it's fine. But it's on SoundCloud, and I wrote it, and I'm going to play it today because I just released it, like, a few days ago. So yeah.
Okay, and before you play that, I'm going to just do a little mom bragging because when Sammy put it on SoundCloud, we were very, very excited because she produced it on GarageBand and she laid all of the tracks, and I will put the link in the comments so y'all can listen to it along with the 31,000 other people who have listened to it. So we're super proud of her. That's gotten a lot of streams. And here she is,
okay.
Sammy Gardner.
Just start now?
Yeah.
All right. 2, 3, 4. Tie all these expensive knots and unravel them with my own jaw. Past our bedtime we fought and we fought. You don't have an excuse. These days you tie your own news. I'm so good at writing things that hurt me in the worst way. Be quiet, silent. Don't talk unless spoken to. Be quiet, silent. I hate your family and you hate them too. 2, 3, 4. You bought me an amethyst necklace. Take me off the bed and brunch breakfast. Somehow you lie away. Out of paying for the check. Your flirt can make my heart velvet. Flirting us will make the car right. Is this what you tend to be? Scorpio tendencies. It's really just a slow one from lovers to enemies. Flying solo, I think for a week. You think my dress is plain, but it's chic. He's never heard of not saying anything when there's nothing nice to say. Playing fetch out back with the dog. I listen close and hear my fave song. He steps on my feet in my new blue box. We're perfect jerks, but it's the offensive things we talk about that make us. We're perfect jerks, but I hate your family and got you to love yourself. 2, 3, 4. You bought me an amethyst necklace. Take me off the bed and brunch breakfast. Somehow you lie away. Out of paying for the check. Your flirt can make my heart velvet. Flirting us will make the car wreck. Is this what you tend to be? Scorpio tendencies. It's really just a slow one from lovers to enemies.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to Sammy. We're super proud of her. And I guess we shall do the boring part, and that's the immigration and court updates part.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Oh.
Good job, Sam.
Bye. Thank you. Bye, Mommy.
See, when you run your own Facebook Live, you just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Now we just...
Hey, how's everybody doing out there? That was awesome, right?
Yeah, it's great. I'm going to try to share this to my my own Facebook page before we get started here.
All right.
And you guys know we're going to be talking about immigration updates today. We're also going to be answering your questions. So if you know anyone who needs to be on this Facebook Live to be asking questions, please invite them or share this video. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
That's
And you tell them what we're going to be talking
I'll
about.
do all the introductions.
You do the introductions.
Now that we had the music intro, I'm John Gardner. As most of you know, this is my wife and law partner, Radlin Mendoza, and we are the law firm Gardner and Mendoza. And we come to you every week at 8 o'clock on Sundays to give you some immigration law updates, court updates, other legal updates going on if it's appropriate. And most importantly, we like to answer your questions. That's the real thing that we like to do here. So if you have a question, please put it in the comments section and we'll answer it. However, I should advise you that what we do here is for education and information purposes only. It is not technically legal advice. That's our disclaimer that we're required to give you. Okay.
Yeah, I see some people here. Hello. We got some people from the Twitter. Hi, Janice. Hi, Kate. Hi, Evelina. Thin's here. Lakeisha. Thank you guys so much for joining us and saying hello. And when you do ask a question, we're going to pop it up on the screen.
Yeah, get your questions keyed up and get them in the comments, and then we're going to put them up on the screen and then answer them.
And if for some reason, like the broadcast is a little iffy because we're not connected right now to our to whatever, it's Wi-Fi. So let us know if you can't hear us. We do have a backup, so we'll be good to go. I'm still trying to figure out how to share this, but
so we're going to do some immigration USCIS updates. We are going to answer the questions, as I said. And we're also going to talk a little bit more tonight about the proposed immigration reform bills that came out of the Senate, are coming out of the House, kind of give you an update on what those are all about for those of you who don't know. And also, we're each going to pick one little piece of them specifically to discuss and get the information out there. Okay.
Okay, am I going first? Sorry, I'm still trying to figure this out.
Well, before we get into any of that, the first thing we're going to do is what we do every week, which is start with a inspirational immigration story of the week. And we encourage you all to send us your stories. Sometimes we feature folks that you send in. Sometimes we feature you. And we have somebody every week. And we just like to, make sure that we continue to get positive stories out there about immigration, because sometimes if you just check in the news, I don't know, immigration can be misrepresented a lot of times in the public forum and in various news agencies. And so we just want to make sure that you're getting the whole story, all of it. All right.
Absolutely.
So we're the balance sometimes.
And my cousin's on here, Roy Wells. What's up, cuz?
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
If you guys need any granite work, he's superb.
Mm-hmm.
So check him out, Roy Wells. Roy, you should put your contact information in the comments for anyone who might need that help.
I mean, just how good. I mean, this guy his company did all the work for Geddy Lee, so that's all you need to know.
Who's Geddy Lee again? Just kidding. We just think we're so funny, guys. Yeah. We just, laugh at our own jokes.
For those of you who may actually not know, Geddy Lee was the lead singer and bass player for the famous, awesome rock and roll Hall of Fame inducted Canadian band Rush. One of my all-time favorite bands, by the way.
And I also have a room going in Clubhouse, but there's no one in the room who wants immigration questions answered right at the moment, but maybe some people will join us. All right. Anyway, our immigrant, and I was trying to figure out how to put a picture up too, guys, and I just couldn't figure it out with the software that we're using, how to put a picture up on the screen, but you can put a picture up, and I really, really want to put a picture up, and I think I'm going to try to put it into the comments if I can. A little bit later. We can add it later. But John and I are going to talk tonight about our inspiring immigration story of the week. And we don't know who we're going to be talking to super ahead of time. But I was on Facebook today and saw that it was our godparents' wedding anniversary today. And so it's Dick and Nellie DeBoo, and they Uncle Dick, he passed away a few years ago, and he was just a pillar in the community. Both of them are just amazing people. And what was the post of it? It was basically that
we learned today
yes.
that they were the very first Filipino couple to get married in the city of Buffalo.
Yes.
Interesting fact.
So I just thought to myself, oh my gosh, these are our godparents. They stood next to us when we got married. And like, I don't know. I need to go and ask Ninang Nelly and say, did anyone stand by you when you guys were the only Filipinos in Buffalo? Because, you know, your family's in the Philippines. And it just, you know, there's these things that we just don't know about the people that impact us and influence. And it just touched my heart to think about those two. And their wedding photo is up on Facebook. Their daughter, Jane, who is an acupuncturist, Chinese medicine doctor in Virginia Beach. And she put this picture up of them. And it just was really a cool picture and a cool story. The first Filipinos to get married in Buffalo. And when was that? I think it was in 1955.
Something like
so,
that. Yeah.
let me just try to get that exact date. But that's, guys, I mean, come on. That is super cool. I just was blown away by that story. And
yeah, that's while she's looking for that, I'll share just a little personal story very quickly. The thing I always remember most about Ninang Dick is that when we first moved here in 1998, he asked me if I would like to join the Lions Club when he was a member of the Lions Club. And so I said, sure. I mean, I really didn't have any idea at the time what the Lions Club really was or what was involved, but Ninang asked me to join. And so of course I said yes. And so for several years, every Wednesday I would drive over there down to Ghent, and he and I would go over to the Radisson Hotel, then downtown Norfolk there on Brambleton, and go to the Lions Club meeting. It was a luncheon and a speaker. And we did that for many years. And it's a really a great memory for me.
Yeah, it was. And John was the youngest guy there in the Lions Club. And if he went to Lions Club meetings, he probably still would be the youngest guy.
Yeah.
At the Lions Club meeting.
And when I would pick up Ninang Dick, Ninang Nelly would always make us tea before we'd leave. So we'd have tea at their house, and then we'd head over to the luncheon.
Right.
It was a great tradition.
And like I said before, they're just pillars in the Filipino community. And you know, Dick helped, and both of them helped erect the Philippine Cultural Center and just so many amazing things. But that was 58 years ago today that they got married in Buffalo, New York. These Filipinos, tropical island folks, going to Buffalo, New York in March of what's the date today? 28th, March the 28th. 58 years ago. So hats off to you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are super inspiring. And just again, to think about the people who have come here before us, paved the way. We truly are just, as they say, sitting on the shoulders of giants. Is that the quote?
Yeah.
Something like that. But anyway.
Dare I say, salamat po.
Salamat po. That's right. Just thank you. All right. So
that's awesome.
You're up, right?
Well, yeah, I can be, unless you want to talk about Venezuela first. It's up to you.
Oh, okay. So just John and I, we went to the at a Venezuelan restaurant on, was that Thursday? And if you all need to know more about TPS Venezuela, we do have a video on our Facebook page, and it is essentially just a lot of Q&A that we answered. I was there, and one of our colleagues, Hugo Valverde, was there, and our associate attorney, Sarah Lawler, was there answering questions. And so it's in Spanish, and I'm the lone person speaking English. So if you're an English speaker and you have some Venezuelan friends who want to know about TPS, please check out that video. And you can also join that Facebook group if you're interested in helping people and just getting the information out about TPS for Venezuela. And there's also TPS for Burma right now. So 2 TPS countries where people from both Venezuela and Burma can register. The registration period is now. And the thing that we want to emphasize is that please don't miss the registration period if you think you're eligible for this. And if you want us to help you determine whether you're eligible, send us a direct message. We don't want anyone to miss out on this. As we were talking about on Thursday, there are a lot of people who are still here when we first got them TPS in 1998, Honduras, El Salvador, and they still have TPS. Yeah. And people from those countries who come to us now who didn't register in that initial period are not eligible to get TPS. So it's a huge, huge benefit. And so if you know anyone, please pass that information on. It's super, super critical for them to register during the registration period. For Venezuela, and I don't think they've put it out yet for Burma, but for Venezuela, that registration period is until September 5th of 2021. It's from now until September 5th of 2021. And I made a joke because I'm Filipino, right? So I can make this joke. I said, okay, let's tell all of our Venezuelan friends that the registration date is actually August 5th and not September 5th, because sometimes our clients like to do things very, very last minute. I know that I can sometimes fall into that trap, but it's very, very critical to please register. And we just want to spread the word out because we don't want anyone to miss out on this opportunity to be able to lawfully live in the United States without the fear of getting deported, getting your work permit, getting advanced parole, which allows you to travel outside of the country, even back to Venezuela, and return back, and potentially leading into other things in the future. Who knows? You don't ever know. So.
Yeah, we don't need to get into all the details of how it all works, but don't pass up this opportunity. This is huge. So if you are somebody who will benefit from this, get on it like now, because it's a game changer. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think we've said enough about Venezuela TPS.
Well,
driving it home, and Burma.
Yeah. Just
and
want
Burma,
to make sure
Myanmar.
that people, this is not some minor thing. I mean, this is like a huge potential life changing thing. So make sure you take advantage of it if you qualify. Okay.
And if you have not heard about what's going on in Burma, Myanmar, it's pretty awful. The news that's coming out of there, and the human rights violations, and the people that are being massacred, really. Anyhow. All right, guys.
Okay.
John's going to talk a little bit about the...
Yeah, I'm not going to drill into all the details. We've been doing this for a couple weeks. So if you want to find out more detail, you can go back to one of our prior Facebook Lives last week or the week before. Either one of those, I talked in more detail. But as many of you probably know from just watching the news, there's a lot going on with immigration. I'm not talking about the situation at the southern border. I'm talking about the immigration reform bills. Last month, there was a bill introduced in the Senate, the U.S. Citizenship Act, that was a very, very broad immigration reform bill, 370 some pages long. And it got a lot of headlines, primarily because of the big thing that it created, which was a new category, the lawful prospective immigrant status. And that was going to be, or that would be a status if this became law for anyone who is here. They would become a lawful prospective immigrant for a period of time, and then they would become a permanent resident, and then ultimately they could become a citizen. The Senate reform bill also addressed those, the dreamers, people with DACA, agricultural workers, and TPS. All right. It's a big, huge bill. I don't think anybody realistically expected it to fly through the Senate and become the law next month. I think everyone assumed that, okay, this is a big reform bill. This is a big heavy lift for the Senate. And even then it's got to go to the House and come back before it can become a law. So let's just say it's grinding right now. It's out there. It's, it's in the process. But in the meantime, the House passed some individual bills that essentially have language in them that is identical to the language in sections of the Senate bill. And so the House of Representatives passed the American Dream and Promise Act, as well as the Farm Work Modernization Act. Okay. And so those are both going to address the Farm Worker Modernization Act addresses agricultural workers, the American Dream and Promise Act. Those are going to address TPS, DACA, and Dreamers. Okay, so those came out of the House. They're much smaller. They had some Republican support. Hopefully they'll pick up support in the Senate. We had this big conversation a couple of weeks ago with our colleague, Jim Tom Haynes, up in Washington, D.C., and I won't rehash all that about what we think is going to happen. None of us has a crystal ball. But those bills, I hope, have an opportunity to go forward in the Senate, and I have a lot more confidence about those than I do about the big, huge Senate reform bill in its entirety. So that's the update. Keep your fingers crossed. Call your representative if those are bills that you are interested in or you think are important and you want them to pass. I think there's a fair amount of public support. It's not like 90%, 10%, but it's I think it is a majority. All right. So Congress just needs a little nudging. All right. I guess I could just say a little bit more about them. They basically would, what they would do is the same thing. They would provide a path to becoming a permanent resident and then a citizen for all of these groups. All right. And the DACA especially would be on a very, very short. They would become permanent residents almost immediately and then could apply for citizenship shortly thereafter, 3 years under the other change in the law. All right. So if anyone has any questions about that, it's not law yet. Don't run out and give somebody a bunch of money who says they'll file all this. None of this is law. These are all just bills that have been introduced and are being debated as we speak. Okay.
Absolutely.
However, we did want to pick a couple things out of them because they're just, little bits and pieces. Not going through all the details again and again. You can go back and read that stuff, listen to that stuff in our prior Facebook Lives. But we did each want to pick for tonight something that we've picked out of it that we think is interesting and will certainly make a change in the future. And I'll let Radlin go first.
I'm going first. Okay.
Yeah. Or I can go first.
No. I'll go first and give you a little break from talking. And look, John and I are matching tonight. We didn't plan it. It just happens that way that we matched.
Well, it was a hot day today, so I'm kind of a little more casual.
It was warm today, guys. It was very nice. And before we picked a couple of things, I want to say that our Facebook Live next week is going to be not postponed. We're not going to have a Facebook Live next week because it's Easter Sunday. Mm-hmm. So we will not be here next Sunday. Maybe we'll pick up another day. If we do, we'll put it as an event. But thank you guys so much for your support and showing up, especially the ones, the folks who are always here every single week. Yeah. You know who you are. We really, really appreciate you. And again, for those who are new, I am Radlin Mendoza. This is my law partner and husband, John Gardner, and we are attorneys and the founders at Gardner Mendoza Immigration Law in Virginia Beach. We serve clients all around the world. It's an immigration law firm, and it's super, super fun. And we are in our 20th year. Yeah, it'll be 21 years, October of 2021. So we were going to have a giant big blowout party, but COVID, saved us a lot of money, I guess. That's one way to look at it. But we shall celebrate. We shall celebrate all the years that we've been around, and for you guys too that have supported us. Look, my mother-in-law Georgia is on. So Hi, Mom. How's it going?
Hi, Mama.
And Roy, he's been a firm, a friend of the firm for a really long time, and Kate as well. So we would not be here without you guys, our family, our supporters, and I remember doing this Facebook Live the first time a year ago. I was so nervous. Now it's seriously just like being with family and talking to family. But unfortunately, you guys don't get to talk, but you do get to ask questions. So
yeah,
please
we don't have any questions tonight. That's
no questions.
surprising.
Everybody's just like, oh, no, please talk. I'm like, all right, sure. We'll just keep talking and not answering any questions.
Yeah,
Let me check Clubhouse real quick.
Usually we have questions that are popping in. No questions tonight. That's
okay. Maybe you guys are digesting your dinner. Mm-hmm. We had dinner early. I'm not eating after 8 p.m. anymore, guys. Who's with me? No. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
Okay. No more eating after 8 p.m. Last time, ate too much after the Facebook Live. All right. Anyway, so before I pick what, the thing that I like about this bill, before I do that, I just want to bring up something that one of our Facebook Live friends, one of our law firm fam brought up to me, and that is just pointing out the difference between a lawful permanent resident and a U.S. citizen. So the person who asked me to do this, or asked us to do this, is a person who has just recently become a U.S. citizen, and she is basically telling me that even some of her friends and people that that she knew pretty well, when they found out that she was a lawful permanent resident, they thought she was, quote unquote, an illegal alien that was, taking health insurance and taking a job. And to our friend's point, a lawful permanent resident is someone who is allowed to be in the United States, of course. And they have gotten their lawful permanent residency either through a humanitarian way, either through family member petitioning for them, or through employment, or some type of investment. So a lawful permanent resident living, working in the United States, they don't have to become a U.S. citizen. It is not a requirement for a lawful permanent resident to become a U.S. citizen. So I always give the example of my mom. She was a lawful permanent resident for many, many years, 30 plus years before she actually had when she thought she had the time, right? She had the time to apply for citizenship, and she did that 34 years after being a lawful permanent resident. So, she paid her taxes. She worked lawfully in the United States. She could travel. Of course, she could apply for any type of health insurance. So the biggest difference between a lawful permanent resident and a U.S. citizen is the fact that, of course, the lawful permanent resident cannot vote. In most cases, sometimes you can vote in regional elections, but for the most part, you can't vote in federal elections. You can't, of course, work for the federal government. You can't sit on a jury because everyone wants to do that, right? can't sit on a jury. And there are also just restrictions on traveling outside of the United States for more than 6 months at a time. So traveling, being outside of the United States for more than 6 months. So 6 months. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up because maybe people don't know that there is a difference between a lawful permanent resident and a U.S. citizen, and then where you have other folks who are maybe undocumented or who are here on a non-immigrant status. So we're not going to get into it, but there is an alphabet soup worth of different visa types. There's the student visa, the F visa. There's the B1, B2 visa, the tourist visa. There's the H1B visa, the L1A. They can be here up to 6 years, and that often gets extended if labor certification is filed for the H1B holder. So there are many people who are living in the United, people here on NATO, and they're of course allowed to be here and work here. And so there are many, many people who are not U.S. citizens who are also not undocumented, but they're here, they're on different visa categories, and they're allowed to be here. So as our Facebook fan and friend said, not everyone is quote unquote, and I don't like to use this word, not everyone here is illegal. And when someone thinks that just because you're not a U.S. citizen, then you're not allowed to be here. And that's just absolutely incorrect. So
yeah, you might think of it in reverse. You might think, if you worked for, say, a corporation and your corporation was headquartered overseas, and maybe you work for that company as an engineer and you live in Japan for years and years and years because the company that you work for is stationed as a headquartered there, and you work for the company and you're an executive with that company. You might live in Tokyo for 15, 20 years as an American citizen working over there, but you'd be there legally, but you wouldn't ever necessarily become a Japanese citizen unless that was something that was interesting to you, and maybe you could try to do it. But you understand my point. So same thing as Radlin just said. And it seems very basic, but we've been getting a lot of a lot of this confusion for some reason lately. I guess every time immigration gets in the news, it is a big story again. More and more people are talking about it, and we just wanted to make sure that everybody's very clear on that there are plenty of folks that are in the country that are here legally and have lived here for years and years and years. I mean, they can live here forever until they die if they want, and never become a citizen. There's absolutely no requirement.
And that's okay.
And there's no requirement to become a citizen. There are benefits to becoming a citizen that go beyond just being able to vote and sit on a jury.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And I'm a huge proponent. I'm sure maybe you haven't heard the reason why. What is my number one reason for being a big advocate for U.S. citizenship? It's so you do not get split up from your family. God forbid something terrible happens and you're wrongly accused of a crime, or maybe you actually did something and it falls under our very harsh immigration laws that allow, deportation for certain cases. So that's my big thing. I'm not going to get into that again tonight. We do have a couple of questions.
But that is one of the advantages that I was alluding to, and that is that as a non-U.S. citizen, you are always potentially subject to deportation if something happens that makes you removable. However, of course, once you become a naturalized citizen, you can't be forced out.
Right.
You might be forced into a prison, but you can't be forced out of the country.
Okay, so I was about to say something, and that was yes, it was one of the things that I wanted to pick out of this 400 page immigration reform bill that I really liked. And it's a small thing. It's a small change. And I just really hope that it happens. And that is to take all of any reference to the word alien, which is what our immigration system calls someone who is not a U.S. citizen. They refer to them as aliens. And I know it's something that may seem small, but for me and just for my clients, an alien is someone who's not from this earth, right? It's something that's foreign, that's something that's strange, that's unusual. I mean, I'm going to say that it's not a positive word. I don't think I can think of the use of the word alien in any type of positive way. It's foreign, it's strange. And so they're taking any use of the word alien out of the Immigration and Nationality Act, any reference to alien, and changing that to non-U.S. citizen. So that is going to be a welcome change for me for sure, and for our clients, I think. And it's, again, maybe our clients don't think about it as much as much as we do, the attorneys, but I think that it's kind of a mental thing, and will perhaps change the conversation around, foreigners and aliens, and we're humans. We're all human beings, right? And so I'm happy about that change, and hopefully that actually happens.
Yep, I agree. It might not seem like a big deal. You might just figure what's in a name. Well,
a lot's in a name.
A lot can be in a name.
Absolutely, right. For sure. All right, let's take a look at a couple of questions we have here. Armando El Peludo Rodriguez. I'm going to put this up on the screen. I'm going to take a picture of it.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to
we're going to actually take a video of this one.
And we are going to make sure that tomorrow, Monday, the beginning of the work week, that our esteemed attorney.
Somebody's asking for you, Sarah. Lawler. We're coming for you. We are coming for you. Here, Armando says, we would like to hear the lawyer Lawler explaining in Spanish to our community. Thank you guys for keeping us informed. You are so welcome, Armando. My Spanish is not very good at the moment because we actually do have Sarah on board as well as two other folks who speak Spanish. And so I'm lazy. When it comes to speaking Spanish. Sarah was there on Thursday night at the Venezuelan restaurant. She did amazing. And we just need to pull her out. You know what it is she's busy. She's very busy.
But we'll let her know that she's being asked for by name.
Yes, by name. Thank you, Armando. That's great. Tell your other friends to write a comment in there too for Sarah. Looking for Sarah. We're gonna bring her up here. All right. We have another question here.
Yeah.
It's Janice. Hello, Janice. I'm going to put that question up. And this is such a great question, and it is something we know very well about. It's what we call our bread and butter at Gardner Mendoza. Question is, what is the process for someone who overstayed a couple of years on a visitor visa and recently got married to a citizen? What do we need to change the status? So this is very, very common. It happens quite a bit. And it's a process. It's a process. One good thing about this process is the public charge rule is gone, right, Shanice? Yay! So no I-944. That's the one great thing about this. But right now, the process is taking about 6 to 8 months. I'm going to get processing times probably mid-April. We've got a meeting with the field office director coming up. I believe it's middle of April. So we'll get more firm processing times coming out of the Norfolk office. And essentially, the process is that the U.S. citizen is going to be the petitioner. So let's just talk about just sort of naming things here. The U.S. citizen is the petitioner. The person who overstayed their visa and got married to the citizen, that person is the beneficiary. So the U.S. citizen is going to be filing the I-130 petition for the beneficiary and essentially stating, hey, you know, I'm a U.S. citizen. My spouse is a foreign national, would like to petition for her to become a lawful permanent resident. The petition by itself doesn't get the person the benefit. It's the green card application, the application for adjustment of status, the I-485. And the I-130, the I-45, and several other applications have to be all filed together. And the filing fee for that currently is $1,760. That's the US government filing fee. And so, I mean, I can rattle off the applications that have to be filed. But essentially, it all has to be filed together. I think for people who are self-filing, they are sending the I-130 petition off somewhere. They're waiting for the I-130 petition to get approved, which can take, you know, by itself, 9 to 12 months. And then they get that approval back. And then they, you know, what do we do with this? File the green card? No, you file it all together. You file the I-130 petition and the green card application together, along with the affidavit of support, the work authorization document, advanced parole document, and the I-130A. Did I say the affidavit of support? The affidavit of support and all of the supporting documents. It all has to be all in place, ready to go. And that includes, you know, the marriage certificate, any divorce decrees, the beneficiary's birth certificate, translation if it's in another language, tax return, most recent pay stub from the petitioner. There's a lot of stuff that goes with it. And I don't think that USCIS has a, I'm not sure, actually I haven't looked on their website about this, but I think that when people come to us who have actually attempted to do this on their own, and there are many people who self-file, they're kind of pulling the information from a lot of different places from the USCIS website. I don't think it's all there in one spot. But once all of that is filed, the next step in that process is the couple will get receipts to show that it has been filed. And the next step after that is the beneficiary is going to get a biometrics. If they're local, they'll go to the Norfolk Immigration Office on the first floor to get the biometrics. When I say biometrics, I mean the digital fingerprints, the digital signature, and the digital photograph. The next thing that may happen after that, may or may not happen after that, is the work permit and the advanced parole will come in the mail, which will allow the beneficiary to lawfully work in the United States. And those are, you know, the work permit was coming at like 90 days. And that's just not the case anymore. Sometimes my clients get the green card before they get the work permit. So after you're supposed to be getting your work permit and advanced parole, then the couple will get an interview notice to appear at the local immigration office. Again, that's Norfolk if the couple's local, and have a marriage-based adjustment of status interview.
You've all seen Green Card, right? The movie.
It's kind of, and also like Jane the Virgin. There's a lot of immigration stuff going on in Jane the Virgin, and we're almost finished with it. We're almost finished with Jane the Virgin. So at that interview, the officer is going to go over every single application, every line of the application. They're going to go over all of the supporting documents, and most importantly, they're going to ask the couple for documents to show that they are in a bona fide marriage and relationship. So, what does that mean? They're looking for bank accounts, joint bank accounts, health insurance, car insurance. Some people are like, oh yeah, I brought my bunch of photos. Well, some of the officers don't even look at photos. They want to see just things that the couple has, commingled together. Joint bank accounts can sometimes be a problem because, it's 2021 and not everyone joins their bank accounts. Even 1980s, people didn't join their bank accounts for whatever reason. Utility bills, and it's the couple. If I could give the couple any type of advice, anyone who's doing this, is to put as much together as possible for that interview, and it's just important because they're looking for that. And I know, oh gosh, we're just doing this for the immigration interview. Yes, because they do need some paper in their file to show that, you guys have commingled your lives and your finances.
Remember, they're looking to see if it's potentially a fraudulent marriage just for immigration purposes. So as long as you're doing all the things that real couples do, you should be fine. But like Radlin said, you want to make sure that you have a lot of documentation. Photos can be staged. They're not that impressed with that. So
right. And again, sometimes for whatever reason, you can't join your bank account. Maybe it's because the beneficiary does not have their social security number yet. That's a completely valid reason. Or I couldn't put my spouse on the lease because they wanted to see a social, or the social security number completely holds people up from doing these things and combining their finances. They do know that, but there better be some other stuff. So, all right, Janice, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I have a much more basic, simple answer to that same question. What you need to change the status is schedule a consultation with Gardner and Mendoza. That's what you need to do.
There you go. There you go. Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that pitch. We'll be happy to talk to your friends, Janice. Absolutely.
But that's thank you for all that information. That's great.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see here. Okay, that's my cousin Roy, who's saying his wife is going to get deported if she doesn't become a citizen or a divorce. But anyway.
Yeah, teasing her. That's great.
No, you can't bully someone about their immigration status. That's abuse. All right. Oops, I didn't mean to show that. All right. So I don't see any questions right now. Do you want to talk about the one thing that that you would love to see happen with this immigration reform bill?
Well, there's so much in there, but some things are more interesting to me than others. And one thing that's very interesting to me is, as we talked about a minute ago, one of the advantages of being a citizen, of course, is that you can't get deported. If you have a green card, even if you've had a green card for 35 years, there are certain things that can happen, criminal things, that can result in your being deported from the United States. And these aren't like major things. You might, it's not necessarily, like killing someone or carjacking somebody. We're not talking about that kind of stuff. There are much smaller offenses that can still create major immigration problems for you. And I'm not going to get into all the details about those. I just always warn people, you want to avoid DUIs and domestic violence and marijuana, firearms charges, obstruction of justice, perjury. These kinds of things are all things you want to steer clear of. And I know it's easy for people to sit there and say, well, I don't know, I don't have to worry. I would never get in trouble like that. You never know. Never say never.
You never know. And people also do get wrongly accused in this country.
People get wrongly accused. Good people sometimes just find themselves in a bad situation, whatever. Anyway, that's not a soapbox here. What I'm just trying to impress upon folks is that there are criminal convictions that can be fairly minor in terms of how serious they are, in the court here. You might have a charge where you go to the general district court and, maybe you don't even have jail time. You just have a fine, or maybe you have like 12 months of jail, but all of it's suspended on good behavior. That's a very common thing to happen in, say, like a theft crime or something of that nature. And one of the problems that we've had in the past, I do a lot of criminal defense, almost entirely representing non-U.S. citizens. And so in addition to the criminal trouble, I always also have my eye on the second shoe that could possibly drop for them, which is the collateral immigration consequence that may follow as a result of the crime itself, or maybe the sentence that was imposed, or maybe the combination of the two. So that's something that I'm always looking for. And in the past, one of the problems that we've had is a lot of confusion with folks, especially in the criminal bar, not understanding that a conviction for immigration purposes includes a deferred finding where something is dismissed. And this happens quite a bit. We represent people all over the country. I don't know if it's as common in other states. I'm not sure, but it certainly is very common practice here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And by deferred finding, what I mean is that judges like to, especially when they have somebody who has no criminal record, like I'm talking about, who, is otherwise, great person, just a bad situation, bad timing, whatever. And the judge says, look, I'm going to find that the facts are sufficient to find you guilty, but I'm not going to enter a guilty verdict right now. I'm going to defer this matter for a year. Okay. And during the next year, I want you to do, maybe an anger management class, or go to AA meetings, or do community service, or whatever it may be. And if you do the things that I am ordering you to do, you come back a year from now and I'll dismiss the charge. It'll be dismissed and you won't have the conviction on your record. And that's a really attractive thing for a lot of folks, because they think, okay, great. I mean, I could go to trial but I might get convicted. This is great. I'll just have a no contest plea, take the matter under advisement. It's called a deferred finding, or a finding under advisement. Come back in a year after I've done my community service or whatever, and have the charge dismissed. And the problem that's always created is that while that is a dismissal for the state court case, it's still counted as a conviction under immigration law, or at least an admission of guilt, because the judge, if you pled guilty, for example, it's admission of guilt. Even if you didn't, if the judge found facts sufficient for a finding of guilt for immigration purposes, that was a conviction. Okay. That's a lot of me talking. Sorry. Okay.
No, it's so important though.
Okay. But so that's
important.
That's something that we've always had to contend with, that I've always had to contend with, and be careful, really careful when I'm trying to thread that needle for my client to make sure they don't have an immigration problem. But under this new bill, one of the things that I discovered that hasn't had any headlines in the news, but I found very interesting, was that it says that under this new law, the following will not be considered a conviction for the purposes of this new act. And one is an adjudication of guilt that's been dismissed, expunged, deferred, or withheld, or vacated. So that means that if this were to become law, then those deferred findings would not be a problem anymore. So if you're a non-U.S. citizen and that's an attractive route for you to go, that would be wonderful, because I think as a sentencing tool in criminal cases, I think it's actually a wonderful thing. I think it's a very useful tool for judges to have when they're dealing with folks who don't have a record, first time they've ever been in trouble. It just makes sense. It's kind of like a really scary warning. Okay.
Right.
Except that it's a real problem for non-citizens.
Absolutely. I mean, it cannot emphasize that enough. Cannot emphasize that enough. I mean, how many times have I done an immigration case and I said, well, this conviction, it could be a problem. You had a deferred finding. Like, well, I mean, I paid my fines. I did the thing they told me to do. I came back. It was dismissed. What are you talking about? It's going to be a problem for immigration purposes. It's going to be a problem for immigration purposes unless this doesn't get passed, it's still a problem.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think we should talk about that for a couple of seconds here, because as John said, he is a criminal defense attorney. We represent most, primarily non-US citizens. And this is always the issue, because oftentimes the immigration collateral consequences are more severe than what happens in state court. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I mean, it's tough, guys. If you know someone who has found themselves in a situation where they're a lawful permanent resident and they have been convicted of a crime that could be a deportable crime, it's extremely scary and really just takes over that person's life. Because we've seen so many cases where the person has not been back to their home country since they were children. And then there's the threat of getting deported back to that country. That is why I'm such a big proponent of applying for U.S. citizenship.
And it weighs on every single immigration case, because all of these things, whether you're getting a visa, a green card, citizenship, whatever, you're always subject to criminal background checks. That's always going to be part of it, and that's why you have to be really, really careful. And if you are a non-U.S. citizen and you find yourself in trouble, make sure that you talk to somebody who understands this, whether it's me or an immigration attorney, and just make sure that your criminal defense lawyer knows, hey, I'm not a U.S. citizen. I want to make sure that you know that, and you take the appropriate steps to look into it. So
Right.
that's something I'd be happy to see change in the law. Because in Virginia, our general district courts, where our misdemeanors are, and those are the charges that are not as serious. Felonies are always going to, well, not always, but almost always going to be a problem. So that kind of takes you into a whole nother place. But I'm talking about even a class 1, all of our class 1 and 2 misdemeanors stay in the lower court, the general district court. And our general district court is not a court of record. So there's not like a person taking down a record of everything that happens. And so some criminal defense lawyers, I think have it in their mind that, well, there's no record of what happened there, so we don't really know. It'll just show that they were charged and it was dismissed. And that's not true, because on the back of the summons, there's actually a box that will be checked by the judge that says facts sufficient for a finding of guilt, but I defer action based on these following requirements. Okay. So anyway, enough about that.
Yeah, we're not going to get into like 12-month sentence or anything like that, because it's a little bit complicated. And if you are a lawful permanent resident, if you are a non-U.S. citizen and you find yourself in a situation where you have to hire a criminal defense attorney, and that criminal defense attorney does not ask about your immigration history, and if you tell them that you are a non-U.S. citizen, like, oh, no, that's not going to matter. It's not a big deal. Just walk right out of that office. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And no shade on criminal defense attorneys out there, but y'all are still not asking this question.
Yeah,
y'all are still not asking whether a person is a U.S. citizen or not, because we've seen the cases.
Yeah.
And kudos to the criminal defense attorneys that are out there asking the question. But I mean, it's people still are. We see it every single week where the criminal defense attorney is not asking the question whether you're a U.S. citizen or not, and whether this is going to impact. And if you do, you say it doesn't matter. Not everybody, but we just see it too often. So please be aware of that. I know we spent some time on it, but it's absolutely worth mentioning.
Yeah. The other nugget in here that I found fascinating, and before I mention this briefly, Roy asked when the new law will be implemented. And it's not even law yet, so we don't have any implementation date. This is still these are all the proposals in the bills that came out of the bill that came out of the Senate. So we're hoping that some of this survives. The whole bill may not survive, but we're hoping that parts of it do. I would love to see the deferred finding go away as a conviction for immigration purposes. And this I found just really, really intriguing. Tucked away in this bill is a proposal that the grounds of inadmissibility and deportability would not apply to a non-citizen who does have a criminal conviction if within 6 months of that conviction, if they give notice to the prosecutors of what they're doing, and they can get the sentencing court to actually recommend that the person not be deported, then the non-citizen will not be subject to deportation or
I didn't
inadmissibility
know that.
if they can convince the sentencing court to recommend that without objection from the state, from the prosecuting attorney.
Interesting.
That's going to be a really hard thing to do. I mean,
Wow.
make no mistake. I mean, I can't even imagine. I'm trying to think. I know every judge in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Hampton, Newport News, Suffolk, you name it. And I know almost all the prosecutors in those same cities. And I can't think of a combination right now that would be 100% on board with that. But even to have it as an option would really be awesome. I mean, like when you really are just desperate and you've got to throw that Hail Mary, this is a total Hail Mary that would be available for criminal defense attorneys working with immigration attorneys for non-U.S. citizens. So I love this. I love the Hail Mary.
He's so excited about this one. That
This
would be very, very exciting. It would almost be like they would have to put together like something similar to like a sentencing package, right?
Yeah, like a position paper.
Like a position paper, right? Like-
But it would allow the state court to do what it felt like it needed to do with regard to the conviction, but also be cognizant of the fact that, okay, there's going to be an immigration consequence, and we really don't think that that's appropriate. We would hate to see that happen, and so we're going to recommend against it. And any immigration lawyer gets to make that argument in the removal proceeding that the state court that convicted and sentenced actually recommended that they not be deported.
Boy, I would think that we're not supposed to do this, but I would think that judge shopping would be very, very important in something like that.
Yeah, so we'll keep you posted. Again, these are proposals in the bill, and we'll keep tracking it, monitoring it, and just bring you updates as they come. All right.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing that. That's, guys, a lot of information has been put forth today.
Yeah, I hope I didn't bore you to death.
No, you didn't bore me at all. It was very, very exciting. It's important.
It is important.
It's so important. Like if we could just help one person not be in hot water because of this, it would be all worth all that. I mean,
yeah, it's
guys,
like watching somebody walk through a minefield, and just like you see their foot about to go down on it, and you just want to yell, "No, don't step there. Just wait. Hold on. Don't do that." And we see it all the time. People come to us, and it's too late. A lot of times they've already done something in their criminal case. That's the Hail Mary is not available yet.
I'm going to say, guys, if you have not seen a family ripped apart because of this, you don't want to see it, because it's awful. It's terrible. We've seen people with toddlers, children, spouses, been here for 20, 30 years who have been adversely impacted by, this stuff. So it's super important. And I mean, it's devastating when, as the lawyer, the person that's supposed to be helping, getting the relief, the immigration attorney, when you come into the case and there's absolutely nothing you can do because of the law and because that person has already stepped into the minefield and, blown their feet off. So that was graphic. Sorry. Didn't mean to be graphic, but it's true. It's heartbreaking. And we don't ever want to see that happen.
It's soapbox again, but it's just so avoidable. Sometimes it's really basic.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's very complicated, but sometimes it's just such an easy thing to avoid. If the defense lawyer had just contacted an immigration lawyer, they would have steered him in the right direction, hopefully. Anyway.
All right.
Okay,
Well, it's
that's
9.
that.
We don't have any other questions. And thank you guys so much for spending an hour with us on Sunday night. Just as a reminder, we are not going to be here for Easter Sunday. Happy Easter. Happy Passover for those who are celebrating. We'll miss you for sure. We're going to be traveling, but we just didn't think anyone wanted to really hang out on Easter Sunday.
Nope. Enjoy your Easter. We will be with you. We'll join you the following week. All right.
Absolutely. We'll throw it up in the events. Please like and share our page. We're also on Instagram at Immigration Lawyers One. I think that's what it is, Immigration Lawyers One. And I have a TikTok now. So dropping some very short 1-minute informational videos on TikTok. I haven't danced yet. Maybe I'll get Miss Evelina to come and dance with me on TikTok. We can do like a duet together. or Roy.
That's right. There you go.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. And going back to our attorney, Sarah Lawler, who first brought us the 2 thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
That's what we end with.
All right.
2 thumbs up, everyone.
Take care.
Have a great week.
Bye.